G'day and welcome to Daily Insights and Storytellings with me, Moon Willow. It's a real pleasure to have you continuing to walk with me as I'm telling these different stories. If you haven't already, if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, and if you're enjoying my storytellings, please hit that thumbs up. If not, just hit the thumbs down. I'll leave that entirely up to you. Well, it's been a weird day. I keep thinking I've been connecting into our group energies, and I think this is possibly the fifth one that I'm doing today. I get to the end of the recording, everything looks all right on the screen, and then at the end it's only recorded about 5 or 6 minutes, and I'm fairly unclear as to why. I have had this happen to me in the past a couple of times, but today seems to be a record. I'm hoping that even though I'm mentioning this, that it doesn't become a sixth time. I really don't. But I don't know. There seems to be something specific that needs to come through today, and I'm a little unclear as to what it is. It's very reminiscent of the spiraling pattern, and it's very much sort of why I do the storytellings in the first place, is to try and access what's blocking our energy from flowing freely, what it is that we may be hiding from ourselves in our lives that we need to address, that brings that to the surface. So even if we go with a specific idea in our head, it may be that that's not actually what we need to know at that time, that actually it's something slightly different. So I'm not sure today. I have spoken about a story a couple of times, and I don't know whether that's partly what is not meant to be spoken about. I don't know. It's been very curious today. What it has highlighted for me, though, is that I have got this real desire to continue sharing the crystals and the cards and the vocalizations with you all. I have this real sense within that I can't explain, that this is that within these storytellings that we're ending up having a shared community, and that it's sort of highlighting the different aspects that may be causing us pain or discomfort, and looking at different ways that we could possibly navigate that particular landscape to go forward more harmoniously for ourselves going forward. I'm not sure. As I say, I'm a little at a loss, because I felt I was keying into our energies, and the recording showed me otherwise. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go with the flow and see what comes out. So I'm going to start with the crystals. So if you could all just focus on the crystals, and we'll see which part of ourselves. So we've got citrine. So we're going to the solar plexus. And solar plexus is perceived as fairly masculine, but it's where we hold our power. And we've all got the power, even though a lot of our world at the moment is probably indicating to us that we are powerless in what's happening around us, that they throw words like mandation and isolation, this, that and the other, and threatening fines, etc. And it's, I mean, talking sort of like, I think yesterday or the day before, about the different types that the light is coming in from outside, and we're lifting our vibration, and that's sort of like almost like the feel-good factor. But it's like a knee-jerk reaction going off on the third dimensional level that really doesn't want us to feel that light, that lightness of touch, that even in the most difficult of circumstances, when you still feel the need and desire to sing, to dance, to just be at a different frequency to what's being presented. So the citrine in our solar plexus is very much about how we hold our power, how we hold who we are in the world when we go out. And it doesn't have to be harsh. It can be a gentle power. It's a gentle strength. But knowing that each one of us actually has that internal strength, that we have that internal fire to actually go against the current norm, as it were, and actually feel secure enough in ourselves and in our feelings and sense around it that we're going to continue walking our path no matter the doomsayers, etc., that are out there. And actually, even if we end up in dialogue with other people that have a different sense about what's going off, it's knowing that we actually have the ability to hold our truth without falling, basically, that we actually do all have the power to speak our truth, to put into action what we would like to see happen in the world. And sort of, it's sort of like we were talking about the sacral the other day and the creative flow. So it's like that's created a flow. We've figured out how we would like to walk and navigate the world that we're currently finding ourselves in at the moment. But it's taking it up to the solar and actually appreciating that we have the power to actually do that, that we can walk our truth, that it doesn't have to be painful, that it doesn't have to be a fight, that actually by allowing it to come up and directing that additional energy into it, we can actually take a more secure path and feel more comfortable and confident in walking that. And some of that is finding communities like the one we have on here and being able to share that and share a different storyline to the one that's been presented on a daily basis in the media. So I'm hoping this is making sense to people out there. I really do. Let's shuffle the cards and see. Ooh, hair's got in it. Well, this is going to be a very weird reading today if it does work. I'm not convinced, but I'm going with the fact that it will. I'll go with those and see what 3 cards we have. Okay, so we have the stork, the whip, and the anchor. So in creating and crafting our new way of being, so the stork is about new beginnings and very much going out there on an external level with the 3rd dimensional, 5th dimensional. It is about new beginnings and new ways of being for us all, and choosing authenticity within ourselves, authenticity in how we speak, authenticity in sort of walking our own path. And that's new. It is new to go against the grain. Well, it's not really. There's always been people who have a slightly different view on what's happening in the world, but that seems to be becoming more prevalent today. That although that's been around for decades, there's been 1 or 2 people that see what's happening in a slightly different way or a considerably different way. But it's like there is a new beginning. There's a new movement. More people, and a lot of people call it waking up. This new movement of acceptability, of actually looking at things from a new perspective, that actually we don't have to go along with the majority, that we can actually find our own pack, as it were, our own community, and start moving more freely towards that and enabling that new beginning and that new blossoming of internal self, and then meeting that with an external self, others that are similar to us, and actually exploring that new way of being and having that new opening. And there is a lot of, I know when I do individual readings or storytellings, a lot of people want me to let them know what's going to happen in the future. And in the past, I have been able to have an idea or see a glimpse of what's going to happen for people in the future. But what I'm discovering at the moment, and have done for the past couple of months, is that I can clearly see two particular lines going ahead, timelines going ahead. And there's two main ones, but what I've also noticed is there's a lot of variations within that. So I can't tune in to a specific timeline for an individual, which is why I like doing the storytellings about the here and now, so that we gain more information, so that when we step forward, when we make that choice for a new beginning, it's actually from a clearer space within. So there's no sort of real hidden agendas. We haven't got any shadows that might trip us up. That actually, by looking within and having a clearer understanding, when we step onto whichever path we want to walk, and that may change within seconds, it could change in a couple of months, but actually that new beginning comes from a new internal self and landscape in a way, or an acknowledgement of the landscape that's always been there, but we haven't given ourselves time nor permission to check that out. So that for me is that new beginnings, and almost like this new timeline coming in of the fifth dimension, that higher frequency that's meant to be about unconditional love and actually supporting and nurturing each other and empowering each other. And that's the sort of world that I would love to live in, where there's no boundaries, no borders, that we can share and actually move forward. The problem with that is, and this is where this card comes in, the whip, which is about quarrels and arguments. There is still a vast proportion of people that we all know that are clinging on to the other, or the current narrative that is being fed out by the media and by governments, etc. And if we start to express to those people that we actually feel that there is something different happening, or we say that there's a fifth dimension, third dimension, that can actually create arguments and conflict, because the majority always feel that they're right, based on the majority actually agreeing to that particular way of being. And that doesn't always follow. Just because there is a large proportion of people all buying into the same thing doesn't necessarily mean that they're right. But if you start to argue or disagree with them, that can create friction, and this creates this huge polarization, which becomes the sort of the antithesis of each other, and can create this great divide. And I feel that that's really sad. I do really feel that that's sad, because I feel that every one of us on this planet has something to contribute, and I may not agree with the majority's assessment of the situation, or the fact that they're buying into the current media translation, the current narrative. I don't truly know whether I'm right or wrong. I can only go with my own internal sense and my own authentic way of being. And I know how listening to the current media resonates with me. And I know how the concept of third dimensional, fifth dimensional, aliens, etc., how that resonates within me completely. And I know that that feels like a truth, that actually I feel like I am heading towards the fifth dimension, that it's a higher vibrational frequency, that it is about loving, nurturing and supporting each other. And I'm really pinning my hopes is not quite right, but really feeling into that and trying to actually walk my talk and walk in the manner that feels comfortable for me and resonates more fully for me. But I've noticed that that has meant that along the way I've ended up having disagreements with other people that I felt were really close and understood me. But that has meant that we have ended up in a couple of situations, we've ended up sort of walking completely different paths at the moment. And I don't know whether we'll ever come back on the same path or not. But I chose at that moment to not get into an argument or say that they're wrong, etc., because in their minds they were right and that is their truth and that is okay. But equally, in my mind, it is my truth and that's okay. But I chose to walk in a different manner and walk away from that, because there is no point in arguing, because it just brings about a negative energy and can create and feed into that darker polarity space and that darker energy space. And my desire for a new beginning and a new way of being does not come from that space. In other instances, I have managed to almost agree to disagree. And in all fairness, I don't talk to those people about these different ideas that I have, because there's like this brick wall put in the way. And I love and care about those individuals more than trying to insist that what I'm saying is true. But they equally love me enough to be able to do the same. So we don't get into conflict or arguments. But I notice that there's this whole space that we just can't communicate in. And that to me is sad, because I feel like I can't be authentic with them. And I would imagine that they have a similar feeling when they're communicating with me, that authenticity is lost. That authentic, full-on communication is lost. And that's more heightened for me at the moment, because I have enjoyed having relationships recently where I am met within my authentic truth and my authentic communication, and that's pure bliss, to be able to be so relaxed and not worry that someone's going to misinterpret what I'm saying, and that reduces that conflict. So I think what I'm saying in this is just acknowledging that there will be time and people that are going to want to try and encourage you into having arguments and disagreements with them, just to prove themselves right, really. And where there is always the temptation on the other side to do the same, that we would like to be right. And at the end of the day, it's not necessarily about being right or wrong. It's actually being able to sit fully within ourselves and continue to walk our truth without it having to be right, just knowing it's right for us. So the last card in this particular set is the anchor. So it's anchoring into this new way of being and anchoring away from the conflicts and quarrels. So really anchoring into our internal power structure as well, anchoring into the soul, and knowing that that will always give us the energy to continue walking in the manner that we would like to walk. But it's also allowing the creativity and the way that we would like to flow, and bring that up into our solar and give it a little bit more structure and solidity, so that we don't feel, if somebody questions what we're doing, that we don't feel lost or collapse within under that scrutiny, because people seem out there to love to scrutinize and query and question and criticize. But if we're secure in our internal knowing that what we're doing is right for us and the way that we're walking is appropriate for us, there's less for them to actually grab onto in conversation. There's less friction. It's almost like oil on water, that it just slides over, and it enables us to continue to expand and grow within. So anchor is very much about the security, having that security within, really connecting and grounding into earth as well, so that we have that freedom to express and explore ourselves going forward into, and I really feel this, that we are heading into a new way of being. And I would love very much for everybody that I know to actually go into that particular way of being, into that higher vibrational state, and actually starting to question everything that they're shown on a daily basis. But I can also honor and respect the fact that some people are just not ready for that. And I'm hoping that those of you that have sort of bared with me for the whole of this particular storytelling find that sense of community and connection with me as we're doing these, and have that anchoring somewhere here, so that you don't feel so alone, and that there are other people that have a similar way of looking at the world, and have a hope that we are entering into a beautiful space that isn't about war, it isn't about famine, it isn't about loss and keeping people down, but actually it's about celebrating being a human being, that there is plenty for everybody, there is abundance for everybody, and we can actually share and nurture and empower each other going forward. So I'm hoping this is making sense for you. I'm very aware that it's getting very dark. But before I finish, we will see what sound comes out and see what frequency comes out of my mouth. Well, I hope that, as well as the storytelling and the crystals, all resonates for those that you are watching. I really appreciate it. Just a reminder that I do offer individual storytellings as well, and I can delve more specifically to your own individual story, as opposed to the more generic ones that I do on here. If you are interested, don't hesitate to message me on through my website, or Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. I'm on all of those, and I will be putting that in the description box at the end of this. So enjoy the rest of your day, what's left of it. Take care of yourself. I'm looking forward to being back on again tomorrow. Love you all. Bye.